Hey guys, so glad to be here today. So, passion versus skills. Do you need both? Is one more important than the other? Which one do you prioritize? So, I want to share a little story with you guys about myself. So, there was a time when I was doing so much interviewing. I was doing interview after interview after interview. And I got to the point to where people were coming to me and saying, "Hey, Shanice, you're so good at interviewing. Like you need to, go in HR. You're so good at it." Or better yet, even just like teach other people how to be great at interviews. And honestly, that was all lies, right? People thought I had a huge passion around it, but in reality, it was a skill that I had developed because I had been burned so many times with bad hires, right? So I had, a few months prior to deciding to get really good at interviews, I'd had a situation where somebody was on my team, they weren't a good fit. It really changed the dynamic of the team, the morale, and there were all of these hoops that I had to do in order to remove them from the team. That it just was a really painful process for me. And then I got a replacement, and it wasn't somebody that I had interviewed. Another leader had actually interviewed this person, and this person was even worse than the previous person. And again, went through all of these hoops trying to get rid of them and remove them from the team because they just weren't a good fit. They were lying on the team. They just were a dishonest person. And I remember after those two incidents back to back, I said, okay, I need to figure out how to become a great interviewer. I need to be able to assess really, really quickly whether or not someone's going to be a good fit for my team, because the chaos, the disarray that it's causing by having people who aren't a good fit on my team just isn't worth it. So in that moment, even though it wasn't something I was passionate about, I decided that it was a skill set that I could not do without. So that brings me back to the original question, passion or skills? Here's the thing, you kind of have to have both. It's great when those two come together, and I feel like that's where those best ideas, where the magic really happens. But sometimes on the way to our passion, on the way to exploring our passions and really tapping into our passions, sometimes there's some skill sets that we need to develop along the way. So in that example, the thing that I was really passionate about was helping the individuals that I had on my team get promoted, helping them reach their full potential, whether that was in the role that they were in already or if they were, off to bigger and better. But I realized that I could not effectively do that if there were team members who were really just turning the atmosphere into something different. So again, that was a skill set that I had to take time, pause, and really hone in on myself. So want to talk a little bit more about that. Sometimes what happens is there's this struggle, how do you grow a passion if you don't have either the skill for that passion or if there's skills needed for that passion? Kind of like how I alluded to earlier, I would say if you find yourself in that position, pause, figure out how do you go about and develop that skill. Maybe that is taking a class or a course. Maybe that's finding somebody who can mentor you in that particular area. Sometimes it's just going out there and doing it. There was a time, again, thinking of myself as a leader and wanting to promote in leadership and become better at empowering other people. I realized that I wasn't that good of a public speaker. I was okay, but I wasn't great. And, yes, you can read all of these books on speaking and talking to others, but I really just had to go out there and do it. So during that time, I made a commitment to myself every single week. I'm going to find some arena where I can speak in front of a large group of people. So that was me asking to come and do presentations for a lot of the leadership development programs that we had. I asked, hey, can I come and help out with some new hire presentations? I even asked my old professor at Vanderbilt University, hey, can I come on campus and speak to these college, these individuals about to, graduate college and talk to them a little bit about the real world. But I made a commitment to myself for 6 months, every single week, I was going to find some type of arena to speak in front of a large group of people. Probably still not the best at public speaking, but I definitely saw myself improving leaps and bounds by just going out there and challenging myself to do it. And then sometimes it's the reverse, right? Sometimes you have a skill that you've developed or you've honed or that you're being asked to develop or hone, and you don't have a lot of passion around it. And that can be just as tricky, right? Just as difficult to balance, just as hard to kind of, wrap our minds around. And my encouragement to you is if you find yourself in that situation, think about how it can tie into a passion. Is there a way that that skill set helps you go after your passion more effectively? Does it help in a particular area that you're interested in? Does it help tie anything together? So I love her to death. I'll pick on my mom for a little bit. She loves talking to homeschool moms about, homeschooling and helping their children and finding curriculum and supporting their children's education journey. For those of you who don't know, I was homeschooled all 10 and she homeschooled all 10 kids, right? So there's 10 of us, homeschooled my entire life. And so again, she's really great at talking to moms and kind of dealing with that, but she's not really a big fan of social media. And so for her, she's really had to balance this idea of, okay, getting used to and more comfortable with some of these social media platforms and balancing that against the idea of like, okay, if I want people to know who I am, if I want to reach more people, if I want to talk about my story more, this is a skill set that I really need to hone in and grow on. So kudos to my mom. She's taking on that challenge a little bit more every single day. And, for you guys too, who, maybe there's a skill set you're working on that you're not passionate about, think about how it ties back into that passion. Think about how it helps make that passion valuable and effective. And if it doesn't, maybe it's not a skill that you need to focus on. Maybe it's something as a business owner, you can go out and find somebody to help support that part of your business. I'm not a really, I don't really necessarily like dealing with the finance part and the books and all of that stuff. I have a brother who's fantastic at that, right? He's a certified CPA, Quicken, QuickBooks, all the things. I don't even know the words, right? And so he manages that for me. So as an entrepreneur, if there's things that you find yourself, hey, not only am I not passionate about this, but it's a skill set I don't want to develop, see if there's a way that you can either partner with somebody to do something or just hire somebody outright if it's something that you find out you truly don't need to do for your day-to-day. And the biggest thing with that is just finding that balance, right? So there's going to be moments where, maybe you're tapping more into your passion, maybe you're tapping more into the skill set, and that's perfectly okay, right? Those moments are going to happen, but make sure you're managing that balance and make sure at the end of the day, the actions that you're taking, the things that you're doing are really driving towards your long-term goal. So speaking out about goals, which are one of my favorite things, when we think about skills and we think about increasing our acumen in any particular area, fancy word, but basically just meaning your ability to do something well, right? Your acumen in a particular area. I encourage each of you guys to set SMART goals around there. What do you want that to look like? How do you want to go about that? How do you break that up into bite-sized chunks? So going back to the story of me deciding to become a better presenter, a better public speaker, my big SMART goal, again, thinking about SMART in the term of being specific, I told myself, hey, I want to do one presentation in front of a group of people every single week for 6 months. It was measurable, right? Like I could check off on my list, did I do one this week? Yes or no, right? Very easy to measure that. Attainable, one a week, super simple for me to do. If I had tried to do, one a day or two a day, would definitely have gotten a little bit more tricky with my responsibilities, right? So something that you have to manage is something truly attainable for you, and is that also going to be realistic, right? So it was an attainable goal, it was a realistic goal, and then that last part of that time bound. I gave myself a large time frame of 6 months, but then it was broken out into single week time frame. So don't forget that time bound piece, extremely important. And then create that roadmap. What does that look like? How are you going to go about doing that? And again, that's going to be different for different folks, dependent on what those goals are, as well as, maybe different on what your skills and your access to resources are. So for me, when this was a goal that I set for myself, I was in the corporate world. I did already have a fantastic brand as a leader and as a people person. So for me to go out and ask like, hey, can I come and teach on, building relationships? Can I come and teach on decision making? Can I come teach on creating an action plan? I basically put together all of these topics that I felt comfortable teaching on and asked to go out, 2 different groups, 2 different ERGs, and do presentations on those topics. And when I saw that I was kind of getting a little bit low, again, was able to reach out to my professor, from my time at Vanderbilt and ask for some additional support and find some additional places to interact with people there. So again, that's going to be different depending on who you are, the resource that you have, but take that time to figure out, what does that roadmap look like? How do I get from point A to point B? What are the steps that I can take in, and break that down into small bites, right? Don't look at it as this huge giant thing, right? I didn't say, okay, Shanice, you need to figure out how to get, I don't even know what 6 months times, let's see, I didn't say, let me figure out how to get 24 quote unquote speaking engagements. I just said, can I find one person a week who's willing to say yes to me coming and speaking in front of a large group? And that for me at least helped keep it manageable, helped keep it realistic, and made sure that I didn't feel overwhelmed with that. And then lastly, around that, embrace the process, right? Like there's so many new things that you're probably learning as you determine, hey, is this the path for me, becoming an entrepreneur? And as an entrepreneur, you're always learning, right? You should always be learning something new every day. So embrace the process. Even with myself, I have been telling everybody, hey, my goal is to do at least 25 of something, right? Number 25 is going to be good. Not that I don't want numbers 1 through 24 to be good, but I'm really just trying to embrace the process, learn new things every day, and don't feel like you have to get it all done at once, right? Really take a time to enjoy that journey, whether that's journaling, whether that's taking moments of reflection each day. Embrace the process, enjoy learning new things, and I can't wait to see how we serve the world together.